Welcome to the weather forecast on CIA TV channel. Dear friends, in today's forecast, we're going to break down what you need to know about the weather that will affect the United States today and over the next 7 days. A severe weather pattern with strong winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes possible. We have a couple of shortwave troughs that are continuing to bring enough moisture and wind shear to bring strong winds, hail, and even a few tornadoes, and that threat will increase today and tomorrow from the Central Plains back into the Midwest. We have a low pressure system moving back along the West Coast that's helping bring a lot of severe weather over the next few days. And then this is very warm and we're facing record high temperatures right now in those areas. Other than that, it's pretty dry. We don't have a lot of showers and thunderstorms, but as we get into Thursday, I think things are going to start to weaken a little bit because this high pressure system is going to start to weaken a little bit, but that's not really going to stop this heat from happening because we don't have any signs of colder weather coming. We don't really have a big cold front coming. We don't have a large low pressure system coming in to help cool things down along the East Coast. So, unfortunately, this heat wave is going to continue. But at the same time, we're going to see fewer major storm systems this weekend. But there's still going to be some severe weather. It's not going to be as significant as what we've been used to here over the last couple of weeks. So as we get into the weekend, our airflow is going to be pretty far north. We could see some severe weather over the weekend in the northern plains, the Midwest, and the northern Ohio Valley. But right now, it doesn't look like anything is going to hold up super well. We're going to continue with this pattern early next week where our airflow is going to be lifted pretty far north and mostly zonal. And then around Tuesday and Wednesday next week, our high pressure system could really start to build back up in the Rockies, which could actually end up providing a little bit of a cool down along the East Coast sometime in the middle and late next week, right around the 4th of July. We're expecting these temperatures to stay above average for the next few days, especially if you're along the East Coast. We've got highs in Connecticut and even Massachusetts today. That's going to continue tomorrow. And then Thursday and Friday, we're going to see temperatures drop a little bit, especially in New England. But above average temperatures will continue in the northern and central plains as well as back up the East Coast. Then later this week and early next week, we'll have another warm front coming in. That's likely to bring more record-breaking temperatures this weekend and early next week. So anytime in early July we think temperatures will even out, I think we'll see some above average temperatures. On the other hand, there will still be some below average temperatures. These are some of the highs you can expect today, and note that areas like Boston and Connecticut will be in the low 100s. Those will be record-breaking in some areas, and even back near Washington, D.C., back in eastern North Carolina, we'll see temperatures in the 100s to 105s. That's ridiculous, even for late June. We don't usually see this kind of weather this early in the month. On the other hand, things are going to be really milder in the Midwest and the northern plains, where temperatures have been in the 80s and 90s recently. We're going to have some relief. Most areas are going to be in the 70s or low 80s. On Wednesday, we're going to continue with those really warm temperatures. A little relief for New England, but things are still going to be very hot near Maryland and also back into North Carolina, even back into Georgia, where temperatures will hover around 100. And for today, many areas of Virginia, southern North Carolina, back into Maryland will feel warm from 110 to even up to 115 degrees. Let's talk more about the severe weather potential for the next few days, starting today. We have a small risk of severe weather across the high plains, and a small threat affecting the Midwest and Ohio Valley, including a large portion of the East Coast where there's really no risk of severe weather for quite some time. The biggest concern today will be strong winds. This is widespread, ranging from isolated strong winds to locally strong winds. There's also a chance for large to very large hail, primarily in Wyoming and just outside Denver, Colorado, where large hail could be possible this afternoon and into the early evening. There's also a chance for a few tornadoes. But if we get enough moisture in the area late this afternoon, there could be a tornado or two, especially from the storms that are trying to break out in eastern Wyoming. There could also be a tornado that tries to break out in Colorado. So overall, there's a chance for a few tornadoes. There are two minor severe weather risks, one in the Carolinas and then one along the Gulf Coast. And then the marginal major threat extends across almost every state in the northern plains and also back up along the East Coast, where the biggest concern with the storms tomorrow will be strong winds, which could be scattered at times, especially with our storms in the Carolinas. Large hail is also possible with some of our storms. Overall, I'm not sure that we're going to have a definite risk of tornadoes in that area, but it's something we're going to keep an eye on. So that's where the severe weather starts today. Overall, we'll still have some showers and thunderstorms this morning. Those showers and thunderstorms will clear out just after lunch, and then around 2 to 3 o'clock is when the storms will start to pick up again between Denver and also into southeast Wyoming, where there's a chance for 1 or 2 isolated thunderstorms in both Colorado and Wyoming. Again, if we get enough moisture, there's a chance for a tornado or two, but large hail and strong winds will definitely be the main concerns today. Around 6 to 7 o'clock, the storms will start to come together and they'll eventually move into western Nebraska and northwest Kansas, with the main concerns being strong winds, maybe some large hail, and then maybe a brief tornado. The storms will start to clear out just after midnight tonight, and then early tomorrow morning we'll have just one real rain back in the Midwest. A couple more storms will try to pick up Wednesday afternoon across the Central Plains, mostly in Nebraska. We could have a short-lived supercell with isolated tornado potential, but overall, large hail and damaging winds will be the main concerns with any storms that break out. And then if you go back into the Midwest or the Ohio Valley, there will be some showers and thunderstorms in the mid to late afternoon this afternoon with the potential for damaging winds. There's really no tornado risk with those storms. And then on Wednesday, we'll have a small cluster of storms moving through in the morning. That will be the remnants of what actually formed later today in areas like the Central Plains. And then in the mid to late afternoon, we could see a couple of supercells break out. Maybe back into Nebraska, maybe even a couple of supercells southeast of the Twin Cities near Madison, Wisconsin, and just west of Chicago, with very large hail, damaging winds, and isolated tornado risk. But that will depend on how those storms develop. And if they're a lot more chaotic and clustered together, I really don't expect much more than strong winds. But if they're more contained, we could actually see the potential for very large hail and even the tornado risk. And then Thursday could also be a pretty interesting day across the Midwest, where we could see a couple different severe weather systems, one of which is a cluster or a line of storms that are trying to form just south of the Twin Cities back to Kansas City, with strong winds, hail, and a low risk of tornadoes. And we could even see a couple more storms ahead of that line that could try to break out with very large hail and even a low risk of tornadoes. Not really a solid forecast here, but this is another mesoscale day, so really anything could happen. But this is another day that we need to pay attention to, especially for folks in the Midwest. There will also be an isolated threat of severe weather in Indiana and Ohio, but strong winds will be the main concern that far east. However, there will be just enough wind shear on Thursday to potentially have a localized tornado threat somewhere in Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, and possibly even northern Missouri. As we head back into the mid-Atlantic to the southeast, we're going to have a bunch of storms that are going to develop in the mid to late afternoon, right around that high pressure system, mostly with strong winds and hail. There's really no tornado risk with these storms. They're going to be very localized, but they're going to be pretty scattered with multiples in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. In addition to the severe weather that we're going to be tracking in the Midwest and the Central Plains tomorrow, there's a risk of isolated severe weather along the East Coast and in the Southeast in areas like North Carolina, back to the Gulf Coast, with the potential for strong winds and hail. We're not really expecting anything super organized, but I think scattered showers and thunderstorms will continue across the Midwest, back into the Central Plains, and things will also start to pick up again across the Mid-Atlantic and into the Southeast, with the potential for damaging winds and hail from any of the severe storms. And then on Friday, the chances of locally severe weather returning to the northern plains are very low, but overall, Friday looks like the ideal time of week if you don't want to see severe weather. On Saturday and Sunday, we'll be looking primarily at the northern plains and the upper Midwest for at least some severe weather. Strong winds, hail, and a low risk of tornadoes will accompany those severe storms. We will continuously update the storm situation in the next news. Please subscribe to the channel to follow. Thank you for watching the news on CIA TV channel.